Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Desiree and I create Disney fitness content and now Universal content as well. If you've watched my recent vlog, you would know that I just got hired to work at Universal Studios in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter as a ride operator at Forbidden Journey, and I could not be more excited. I am like geeking out. The closer it gets, the more excited I get. In honor of this, I thought that I would make a video all about my experience of my application process to my hiring process, I guess. The reason for this is mostly I remember when I was looking into applying to Universal, I actually couldn't find any information on Universal Studios Hollywood specifically, and I really wanted it, and I really wanted to know what it was all about. So here I am making this video for you, so hopefully you have something to watch if you are also looking forward to applying to Universal Studios Hollywood. Alrighty friends, so I took a bunch of notes while I was going through my interview process for you, and I am going to go ahead and share those tips with you today, so let's go. First things first, applying. If you want to apply to Universal, what you're gonna do is you're gonna get on the Googles and you're gonna type it in, and you're gonna put in Universal Studios Hollywood careers, and it should pop up, and you will get to this page, you will press this button, and then you'll be able to look through all of the jobs that they currently have open. Then you will go ahead, click apply, and you will go ahead and apply for it. Once you submit your application, it's gonna be a couple of days. For me personally, I applied on June 27th and I was asked to book an interview on June 30th. So they did take a few days to get back. In terms of resumes, I don't really have any tips. If you do want tips on resumes, I would watch my Disney video that I will link right here. I'll link it right here. I do have some tips over there, but really I transferred a lot of the knowledge that I had from applying to Disney over to Universal. I didn't do a cover letter, I just did a resume. I did use minorly themed language, but nothing too wild. I also noticed during the hiring process that they do seem like they are really looking to fill a lot of spots. So I wouldn't hesitate if I don't have much experience. If you're someone that feels like I can't do this because I don't have enough experience, I would say apply anyway. They do look like they are in dire need, especially because we are about to go into a peak season for Halloween Horror Nights. So apply. After you submit your application and you receive that fun little email that says we want to schedule you, it'll be from their talent office is what they refer to it as at Universal. You will be able to schedule an interview. So you'll click on the link and it'll have you log in and it will take you to a page where you can pick a day and time. I wanted to wait a little bit because I was waiting on some health stuff, so I picked like the last date that was available, but you can always pick an earlier date. They had a good amount of options in my opinion, so you get to kind of figure out when you want to go in. The interview itself will be an in-person interview, so do just be prepared for that. Once you schedule your interview, obviously it's time for your interview. I want to give a couple of tips on getting ready for the interview. So personally, I did see people in jeans. I did see people very dressed down. In my opinion, you want to dress for how you want to be perceived. So I like to put my best foot forward, which is why I decided to dress a bit more on the business end of business casual. That is entirely up to you. Obviously, don't make yourself uncomfortable. Don't wear like a suit or anything. You will feel a little out of place. But if you're like me and you do plan on staying with Universal and trying to move into different departments of Universal, then I would definitely suggest putting your best foot forward just to get the practice. My second tip on the in-person interview is to make sure you have the time scheduled into your day. I was there each time about 3 hours. So it does take a while, like the process takes a while. The second time I was there, because I had to do 2 interviews, but the second time that I was there was only one person interviewing that morning, and they were trying their best to get more people to come help out, but it will take a while. My interview that time was at 10 a.m. and I didn't get seen until 11. Just be prepared to be there for a bit. The way that their process works is a little bit different in that you'll go in for your interview, and if they want to hire you, they will hire you on the spot. So be prepared for that. My third tip for the interview is they will ask you when you get to the front desk if you have your resume with you. If you want to print out your resume, you are more than welcome to bring it in. It might make you look a little bit more prepared, but personally, I did not bring it because I did not realize that I needed to bring it, and they did have it on file since I uploaded a resume when I submitted my application. If you do not upload a resume when you submit your application, please bring your resume because otherwise they really will have nothing to go off of. Just a little helpful little tip there as well. So let's get down to the interview itself. So some of the questions that I was asked on my first round of interviews were, I believe we started off with availability, and then she kind of described what the attractions or ride operator position will be like, what it entails. She then asked about a scenario, like if a kid was too short and how would you explain that to the family? And then she did ask about tattoos, whether I had any on my like hands, neck, or face, which I don't. That was pretty much it. I think there might have been one or so other questions, but for the most part, the initial interview was actually really easy. It didn't stress me out as much as the second one did, but I'll get to that. So after our interview, she said that there was an opening at the Simpsons ride, and so I agreed to that. So that's what she pushed my application through for, and she asked me to go wait on the couch and that someone would come to get me. After you wait on the couch, it does take a little bit, like I said, and then they'll take like 2 or 3 of you over to the next building, and that is where you will go through the rest of the onboarding process essentially. So once you get through that first interview, you are hired, and they will tell you that, which is really nice. Then you go wait in the next area, and you will wait for someone to call you in to do your like initial solidification of what ride you're doing or like where you're going to be, and like orientation dates and stuff like that, just so that you're aware of it and or can pick it. During that process is when I asked if there was any availability at Forbidden Journey, which there was. I had an initial scheduling conflict with Forbidden Journey, and after I got my results back and realized I can't have surgery for a long time, I asked about Wizarding World, and she told me that she is not allowed to hire for Wizarding World. Wizarding World team members have to interview you themselves, or someone from their management team has to interview you. And so I did have to schedule another interview to come back. I scheduled my interview for the following Tuesday, which is what you saw in this vlog, but then they called me and said that actually they were only doing the ride operator interviews on Wednesday. So I ended up changing it over to Wednesday, so that was my second interview. If you aren't applying for Wizarding World and you only have to do that one interview, then right after you speak to her, you'll go back into the waiting room and then you'll start your onboarding process. It does say in the email to bring I-9 documents. Bring your I-9 documents, because if you can get it out of the way and not have to come back, then why would you want to come back, you know? I brought my passport. I also had my ID and my social security card, but all they needed was my passport because that satisfied both columns for the I-9, and so I was all done with that. After you give them your I-9 documents, you're going to sit down at the computer and you're going to start your onboarding process. They'll have you log in, you'll accept your offer, and you will go over all of that, and you'll start your documents. The last thing that you do for onboarding is take your ID picture. So again, do make sure that you look the way that you want to look, because they do it that day. That is pretty much it. And then you just wait for orientation. For me personally, since I had to go back a second day, I did not do the onboarding portion. I just left, and then I came back on a different day. On that day, my second round of interviews, it was a tiny bit different. I did wait for an hour the first time and the second time to be interviewed. The interview questions were a tiny bit different for Wizarding World. Only in that she did ask if I was afraid of heights, and then she asked me 2 scenarios instead of just the one. So one of them was the height scenario. The other one was about if someone got sick on the ride and how I would handle that. She also could tell I was nervous, and I was really nervous for my second interview because I really wanted it just so badly. And I was so stressed out about what kind of things that they were going to ask me. I wasn't sure if they were going to quiz me on like Harry Potter trivia, and I just wasn't mentally prepared for that. So I was stressed, and she could tell, and she was like, it's okay, like you can relax. And I was like, yeah, duh. But I was I was the stress. Oh, and also in addition to those questions, she also asked me where I see myself in 5 years, which I wasn't expecting to get as a question, but I did really appreciate it. And like I said, I am trying to stay with Universal. I would love to work for Universal Music Group. I am in college for music, and that is what I want to do with my life. So I definitely want to stay with the company. And so I am looking to make a good impression, and I might want to branch into entertainment. So that was basically what I told her, and she thought that was cool, which I was like, yay, I'm glad. And that was pretty much it. That was my interview. She asked me to wait on the couch again, and I said okay. And then I did that, and then someone grabbed us and brought us over to the next room, and that was when I had my full onboarding experience. But this time, instead of a person going over my orientation stuff, we were brought into like a little booth to take a phone call. And then I did my onboarding, took my ID picture, and I was ready to go. I was hired, like I said, for Wizarding World. I'm super duper 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 excited. I feel like my biggest tip is really just make sure that you're breathing, because I definitely wasn't the second time, and make sure that you have a good 3 or 4 hours blocked out for your interview time. That way you don't get caught off guard, because a lot of people weren't prepared to stay that long. So I feel like that is my biggest tip of the day, is really anticipate being there for at least like 3 hours. And if it's less, then fantastic. If it's not, I warned you. So here are the dates for everything. I had submitted my application June 27th. I received my interview link June 30th. I scheduled that interview for July 7th, and then I had my follow-up interview July 13th. So it's definitely a couple weeks for a process. There was a way to make it quicker. There were earlier interview dates, and there were definitely rides that were taking people a lot sooner, like as soon as like the week of July 19th. I just wasn't ready to do that because I have so much going on right now in terms of like trying to move and everything. So that worked best for me. But my orientation is going to be August 2nd is when it starts, and it is going to be virtual for the first few days, and then on August 5th is my first in-person orientation day, and then I start on the job training. It's definitely going to be a busy time, but I'm really glad that I have this break in between to kind of adjust everything and get everything in order before starting a new job. If you are like that, know that there's a way to get a later date to have a moment, and they didn't really seem to have a problem with that. If you're the type of person that needs to put in 2 weeks, know that the process itself does take a few weeks anyway, so you will have time to be able to do that. Like I said, you do find out if you're hired like that. It was a really easy process. The only thing that made it different for me was that second round of interview, and so I feel like that's what lengthened it a little bit. If I had just let them hire me on the 7th, then I would have started everything the 7th, and I would have probably started orientation this week, actually. So just know that the general timeline is a couple, 2 to 3 weeks from application to getting hired and starting orientation and everything like that. I hope that that answers all the questions about the application process at Universal Studios Hollywood. If you have any other questions about it, I'm here. Feel free to ask me. You're welcome to leave a comment below. If you need my Instagram to DM me and ask me some personal questions, you're more than welcome to. That will be written in the description box, so you will have access to that information. I was super confused about the process myself, so I'm just happy to be here and to be able to provide some answers. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. That way other people can also find it. And if you want to keep following me on my journey, please go ahead and click that subscribe button. I love theme parks. I love Disney. I love Universal. Follow me for more content. Once I get my perks, I'm going to be in the parks a lot. I am very much looking forward to all of it. Let me know what kind of content you want to see. Thank you so much for all the love that you have been showing to my Disney cast member videos. Like I said before, and like I will continue to say, I am beyond grateful for all of it. So thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here for you guys, and I'm so excited to start with the Wizarding World. So until next time, my friends, bye!